Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring RGNkillssFury in the top left corner playing our red Zerg, and in the bottom left we have Magikarp playing our blue Zerg. Zerg versus Zerg. Magikarp is in Diamond, RGNkillssFury. I don't know. I can only assume he's either Diamonds or Masters. And since this is red versus blue and we're on Entombed Valley, I'm going to assume this is also a ladder match. So maybe Magikarp's getting ready to pop on over to the Masters. Maybe he's getting ready to evolve. Get it? Because he's a Pokemon. Anywho, Entombed Valley, it's a well-known map. You got a small ramp leading down into a natural, which has some destructible debris separating itself from the third. The third is really tucked away there, very vulnerable by air, but nothing else. I mean, it's got its own little ramp and only one pathway into it, so it's very defensible. I like it a lot. Destructible debris kind of can slow down you taking that early third, or if you do take the third and you don't remember to take down those rocks, you might expose yourself to some later aggression where you can't really reinforce that expansion very quickly. But it's well worth the risk, because if you can hold it, it gets more defensible as time goes on. Common ground's kind of split up by this little crevice, which can kind of hurt the surrounds, especially being this is ZVZ. The surrounds are going to be very key. Magikarp has enough money to throw it in a pool, decides probably going to go hatch first. On the other hand, Fury taking a little bit more of a conservative route, throwing down like a 15 pool and some gas immediately thereafter. This is probably the more defensible of positions. Get out some of those early lings, get out that early speed, which will come in so handy for just the size of this map. Magikarp taking not much of a risk. I mean, he's got an Overlord already headed in the right direction. By the time that pool pops up, that Overlord will be about the third. And he's got his own pool heading up too, so even if he is a little bit behind on the lane count, he won't be too far behind. So he won't be caught off guard, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Extractor also coming up again with that speed, super important. Fury, as soon as that spawning pool pops, he's pretty much got 100 gas, so I expect him to throw down that speed immediately. I guarantee you Fury is in Masters, because he is playing like a pro. He did that extractor trick just to get the 2 supply needed for the queen as soon as the pool hatched, and he had just enough money to get the queen and the metabolic boost underway simultaneously. So that just shows you how refined his build is, and is definitely playing like a really solid build. Magikarp transferring away his probes as that hatchery does come up. Just a couple of links coming out for both players. 6 on the way for Fury. It's interesting to see, is he going to use these just for map control so that he can take his expansion without any harassment coming out of Magikarp, or will he try to punish Magikarp's hubris for grabbing that early expansion? Only time will tell. The metabolic boost is well underway for Fury, but we don't see it coming out of Magikarp just yet, as his 6 enemy Zerglings head in. But we do see out of Magikarp is a Baneling Nest. Really good choice, especially in the matchup. Zerg versus Zerg, super early aggression, and Banelings can be life and death. 6 versus 6 right now, probably not going to come out on top one way or another, but as the speed finishes up for Fury, he's going to have a bit of an edge that he can either use to get into the probe line, take out 1 or 2 drones, or up the ramp to scout out the full base. That's what he's trying to do. Really good reflexes by Magikarp, blocks off the ramp, preventing the lings from getting in, but costing him more than a couple in defense. Right now he's just buying time to get that Baneling Nest up, which just now finished, and he's got 2 Banelings on the way. Fury's going to have to be very careful as these Banelings finish. His own Baneling Nest just now finishing, as is his expansion. Opting, instead of getting a good scout off, taking down 1 drone, almost another, but denying some mining time. So good play by Fury. I actually don't think, did he lose anything? Workers killed, units killed. He's just lost 1. What that is, I'm not 100% sure. Probably a Zergling, if we're being honest. Fury is denying Magikarp just a full-on scout, pushing out that Overlord, which just now arrived. You look down on the mini-map, you can see that Fury's positioned his Overlords all down this nice pathway, which is the pathway the Zerglings are going to have to take, skirting around the destructible debris over on the fifth side. They can sometimes take a more circuitous pathway down to the left side, but usually it just takes longer than it's worth. So if the AI sends them this way, Fury's going to know their path the entire way. Really nice play there. Magikarp has his a little bit more defensively. He doesn't want to lose more than one, which he just lost to that queen. Medic Ball boost also finishing for Harp as his opponent gets up the lair. Not quite there for Fury. Oh wow, look at that. Magikarp just now getting it. Good for you. Also getting his second gas, so both players content to tech right now as both of the expansions have gone up, have started to mine. Another 2 gas for Magikarp and another 2 for Fury down at his natural, so both players are getting that 4 gas up. No one's making motions like they want that third yet, but I would expect it shortly. It's so much easier to ZVZ if you can manage to take up those expansions. Magikarp's actually scouting that expansion right now, and Magikarp also has his overlords in position, so that maybe if he's thinking about taking that third, it's going to happen sooner or later. A Zergling from Fury is scouting out that third, but it's denied, opting to go up the ramp, try to get up there. Oh, costing Magikarp a Baneling. But to deny that scouting, in all honesty, is probably worth it. Magikarp has his drone in position to take that third. No moves out of Fury yet, but it's going to go down any second now. Going to be scouted instantly by Magikarp's Zergling, which was placed there preemptively. Also, double Evos on the way for Magikarp. Ooh, and a Spire, which is why he wanted to deny that scouting. Really good reflexes by Fury to send in that suicidal Overseer, just to make sure that if there were any shenanigans, he'd be aware of it. And seeing that Spire is a major, major win for Fury. We're going to see range and 1-1 come down for Fury, but here's the reflex. It's the Hydralisk Den automatically going down. 4 Banelings being morphed in the third, but they're scouted by Fury, and it costs 4 Banelings for 3. Good trade there. That scouting Zergling, unaccosted for now, takes down, I don't know, 100 health from the hatchery before getting scouted and taken care of. Hydralisk Den, though, is going up to protect Fury from the Mutalisks, which will be coming out. We can also see a couple of Spore Crawlers, the 1-1 being researched at the dual Evo chambers. He can already get those spores up, but just wants to be 100% protected against the Mutalisks that will be coming out of Magikarp. Both players are banking the gas. We don't see anything super gas heavy coming out of Fury just yet. Maybe he'll get a Spire of his own, maybe some Infestors, or maybe he'll just be doing that Roach Hydralisk balls, which are just incredibly effective. They mash out some damage per second like no one else's business. As long as you can protect those Hydralisks, they're very, very effective. Gotta be careful with that single Baneling. It could wipe out probably half of those Zerglings, but some good micro out of Magikarp. Makes it into the third, sees that there's no saturation and has to pull back. Some more back and forth. Both players are basically just buying time for them to get out the unit composition that they want to get out. Fury with his 1-1 finishing, and the 1-1 for Magikarp also just a couple of seconds behind. It's interesting. I don't think I saw a Hydralisk Den come out of Fury, but I also don't want to take my eyes off of this little dance that Fury and Magikarp is doing. Looks like Magikarp's going to get cleaned up by Fury. Some really nice micro there. Making sure to pull back his Baneling before it exploded on too small a number of Zerglings. Glial Reconstitution and the Groove Spines both finishing. It looks like this is going to be your attack path from Magikarp. He's got the Spire coming up, but that was scouted, so those Mutalisks aren't going to be too cost effective. I don't expect to see a huge swell of them, no more than I guess 10. They're paying for themselves right now by taking out all these Ultralisks or Overlords, but they have to be very careful about those Hydralisks. Hydra's incredibly cost effective at taking out those Mutas. They're so vulnerable, and their DPS just doesn't even hold a stone to them. So right now it looks like Roach and Infestors, they got the range already, so I don't think it's going to be Ling Infestor, even though they complement the Mutas rather well. I think Magikarp's going to be playing it a little bit more defensively with the Roach Infestor, and you know, Infestors are incredibly powerful. If 1 or 2 bundles of Fungal down on the Hydralisks can really cut down that number. And Fury has to kind of balance his unit composition to accommodate the Mutas that are already out on the field. How many Mutas are we dealing with right now? 9? That's more than enough to wipe out a probe line that's undefended, but you can see that each probe line has at least 2 spores at every place. So Magikarp's just looking for an opening. He's taken out successfully all of the Overlords. That Overlord placement that I was talking about earlier, completely gone from Fury. So he's really playing blind. He's probably a little bit paranoid about his Overlords right now, and for good reason. These Mewtwo's are going to swing into the north side of the third to take out that Extractor, which is unprotected by the Spore. Single Queen's not going to be able to push them back, but probably will do plenty of damage to one of the Mewtwo's, and a couple of Hydras swing in, take out one Mewtwo, push them back after that Extractor went down. Gas income is so key in the mid to late game for the Zerg because they're so gas heavy. Right now the mineral count is just neck and neck. Both players quickly approaching their max. They've got those 8 Mewtwo's out, really not going to add much into the final battle, but the 11 Hydras, 18 Roaches. We're going to see a lot of Roaches in a couple of seconds for Fury, I'm sure, because those Hydras really are useless unless they're protected by some very sturdy Roaches. And the Fungals will help too with that positioning, but they really are useless without those Roaches. Here's a good number of Roaches. Not enough yet, but I don't think Fury's planning on pushing out soon, and he keeps getting supply blocked because of these pesky Mewtwo's. Magikarp's doing a good job keeping them cost-effective, paying for that investment. Pathogen Glands just now being started, even though there's more than a handful of Infestors out on the field. I think that's Fury trying to get lucky with some fungal growths on these Mewtwo's more than anything, because you hold them in place while they do take that damage, allowing the Hydras. Oh, they have to be so careful. A fungal does just barely catch one of them. If it had caught that whole ball, there would be no more Mewtwo's on this field. Spreading them up, a really wise choice by Magikarp, instantly reacting to that pressure from the Infestors. As the Roaches from Magikarp comes up, he's 200 supply. He really needs to make something happen. Fury has the defender's advantage. He's up on the hill. He's got more Infestors on the field, only 3 for Magikarp. I think he's got 6 for Fury. And those Infestors are really going to be the difference makers for this attack, because it's 2-2 against 2-2 right now. Those Roaches spill in from both directions. Excellent fungal on the north side of the engagement. The ones on the south side get cleaned up from Magikarp. The supplies are still heavily favoring Magikarp. Some more fungal growths go down. That's a Baneling hit. That wasn't a fungal down on the south side, but so many Roaches. I don't think Magikarp's going to be able to clean this up. Supplies have equalized right now. Finally, Fury breaks through the Roach line by Magikarp and pushes in. It looks like every single one of the Hydras, though, have been taken out. You can look at the units counting station. 32 Roaches with only 2 Hydras remaining. All the Mewtwo's were taken out completely, but those Hydras were really only there because of the Mewtwo's. Hydras add so much to the damage per second, so I would not be surprised if Fury re-macros with a couple more in the unit composition. But Magikarp right now can really, he's got a plethora of different options that he can do to answer back with this multiple Infestors. Probably going to get more Roaches. He's got 5 Infestors on the way. I don't think we're going to see any more Mewtwo's because we saw how shut down they were in hitting the probe line, which is really where their damage is done. Magikarp does have a nice standing army. Fury is taking the middle of the map, going to be pushing down to the 4th and the 5th expansion that Magikarp opted to get. Fury is also grabbing his 4th. You can see it on the mini-map. The Roaches come in, find the 4th, start doing plenty of damage, but the Roaches from Magikarp were in a good enough position right now. They don't outnumber the Roaches from Fury, but an excellent fungal right on the middle of that bundle goes down. Another one following shortly thereafter, equalizing that combat advantage that Fury had initially. 3 more fresh Roaches come in. I don't think any of them have enough energy. One of them does, and Fury has to pull back. Magikarp succeeds in keeping his 4th hidden for now, but Fury is also grabbing his, so whatever advantage he gained from that is minimal. But this is a nice one. Magikarp positioning his Roaches upon the retreat path of Fury, cutting them off at the head and taking down more than a couple, which is really something that he needs to keep doing. Though he's continuing to press up into the natural, suffering some counterattack action from Fury. A lot of fungals going down on the Roaches. He's got to be very careful about this engagement. I think he should pull back with these Infestors right now because these Roaches aren't going to last very long. He does not. Fury, realizing that those Infestors could slip through his fingers, decides to push through that line, taking a little bit of extra damage, but succeeding in taking down all those Infestors, which is a huge win. Burrowing all the Roaches so that they can recover. Magikarp had better get out of there before they... Nope. They pop right back out. again throwing down the damage. It looks like Magikarp has to retreat before he loses too many, and Fury succeeds in keeping up his fourth, which is much closer than the fourth of Magikarp. Looks like Magikarp's going again for round 2, though. No? Good for you. I would call it quits just for right now. He needs to get more Infestors out. He needs to further complement his build, because right now Fury has a lot of Infestors and definitely is controlling the battlefield with their ability to fungal. Here comes Magikarp with just a pure Roach army, once again pressing in, taking out a couple of Infestors that have slipped to the front of the force, finally battering down 180 over 140 supply. Fury is really holding his own, though, even with an inferior supply count. A lot of that supply for Magikarp is in those Roaches, though. Still 2-2 against the two of them, but we can see the Hive is coming up for Fury right now. So higher tech is going to be on Fury's side in just a couple of minutes. It'll be interesting to see if he goes Broodlords because of the air advantage that Magikarp had in the beginning of the game. I don't think he's going to go Ultralisks because the upgrades that Fury has right now has really pulled him back, but Magikarp has a massive supply lead. How did that happen? That totally took me by surprise. He was doing fine. Where did this come from? He had so many Roaches just constantly streaming in, and then Fury just stopped producing them, and he's got how many on the field now? 38-9? They were dead even. This totally took me by surprise. If anybody can explain this, that would be awesome. If you guys have a comment, you could leave me a comment like what happened there. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit one way or another. I am Big and Scary. I'll see you guys later.